Wow, it's been a while, huh? After several weeks and several new videos, I'm glad to finally be back to finding new references in this Barbie dress-up simulator that also happens to have guns and explosives in it. Today we have a variety of different hats to go over from Heavy's illustrious catalog. However, frankly, I don't like wasting time. I think that going through every single hat and meticulously going over the reference for each one soundsmith style is a bit too slow for my tastes. Besides, I've gotten a whole lot better at this whole video making thing since our last referential run-through. As such, I'm going to split all of today's hats into categories and be efficient with going over the references for every single one of Heavy's hats. Today's categories are historical headwear, pop culture pounding, video game venture, weird stuff, and stop rushing these videos. Note the quotations there. Okay, Alan here is our reigning champ and he has control of the board.
How did I get here?
Alright, starting with historical headwear. Heavy, like his fellow mercenaries, has a few hats based off of real-world history. However, because Heavy is a relatively abstract class archetype, there aren't nearly as many pieces of historical headwear as with other, more recognizable classes, like Soldier or Spy. However, Heavy does have his fair share of cosmetics in this category. For instance, he possesses in his collection not one, but two pieces of tribal headwear, hailing from Native American and Aztec culture respectively. Weirdly enough, the Big Chief is similar to a different hat that Soldier has, the Chieftain's Challenge. These two mercs must have visited a Native American tribe and been honored for their renowned warriorship with these headdresses. Of course there's also this hat, whose name I absolutely refuse to try and pronounce, which is a German World War II military helmet. It's also a promotional item released alongside Wolfenstein The New Order. Why they gave this German hat to a Russian, I'm not sure, especially since it's established in the item description for a different hat that Heavy's grandfather fought in World War II, presumably against the Germans. Speaking of hats that don't make any sense on Heavy, we have the Pounding Father, which is a hat based off of the appearance of Benjamin Franklin. Okay, at least Germany is relatively close to Russia. This hat doesn't make any sense on Heavy. The United States aren't even in the same hemisphere. You have got to be kidding me. The Mediterranean Mercenary is based off the headwear worn by higher-ups in the Ottoman Empire. The hat has two styles, Normal and Defiant Day, with the latter referring to an honorific title given to high-ranking Ottoman officials. Given that 99% of the Middle Eastern hats are given to demoman, this hat being on Heavy baffles me. Rounding out our rather short list of historical hats is the Man o' War, which is based off of the hats 18th century pirates used to wear. Additionally, the name is a reference to the Man of War, which was a British naval nickname for a powerful warship. All in all, there aren't too many historical hats for the Heavy to heave on his head in the heated hailstorms of Hightower, but the scarcity of these references will be quickly made up for by the next category, pop culture pounding. This is easily the most common and widespread category for Heavy references. The vast majority of the hats being discussed today are going to be found here. This includes, arguably, the most iconic Heavy hat, the Tough Guy's toque. Of course this is the go-to hat for Hoovies, but did you know it's actually based on Jane Cobb's hat in one singular episode of the TV show Firefly? What an incredibly specific reference for a hat. We also have the Hound Dog, also known as the Elvis Presley hat. This cosmetic neatly fits into the subcategory of hats based on historical figures that are more linked to pop culture than actual history. It's also the only hat in the subcategory. Then of course we have all the amazing movie and TV show references, which I'll rattle off quickly as there's a lot to go through. We've got Frankenstein, Macho Libre, Rambo, Predator, Venture Bros, The Jungle Book, Hellboy, Fargo, Predator again, Alien, kind of, The Big Lebowski, and finally, Mad Max. I think Heavy being the face of TF2, as well as having the most exaggerated physical design of the cast, means he's kind of the go-to class when the team needs someone to attach these pop culture references to. With the exception of Macho Libre, The Big Lebowski, and kind of the first Predator reference, most of these characters don't look anything like Heavy. But, since he's the face of the game, it makes sense he would receive all the big tie-in cosmetics. Rounding out the pop culture list, we have a couple of anime being represented in the fold, those being One Punch Man and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which are referenced by the Two Punch Man and the Starboard Crusader, respectively. Next on the chopping block, we have Video Game Venture, which is where all of our video game tie-ins are located. I decided to separate these from the rest of the other pop culture references because, well, TF2 is a video game, so it doesn't feel right to put these references with all of the other ones. Of course, we have all of the promotional items under the sun in this category, as they are all meant to resemble something from the video game that they all come from. Most of these aren't particularly interesting, which is why they're all clumped together here, but my personal favorite is obviously the Dragonborn helmet. Not only is it a direct reference to one of the most iconic games of the 2010s, but it's also responsible for Matthew Game Theory Patrick claiming that this hat is for Scout in this infamous video. In response, the TF2 community uttered a unanimous "nuh-uh," and no one took MatPat seriously ever again. Probably. We also have a really cool reference to the Resident Evil 4 merchant in the form of this hat, the War Hood. This is probably my favorite hat out of all of the ones in this video. It is absolutely hilarious to picture the normally calm, slimy, and slick merchant be transformed into this big Russian guy who can barely form a coherent sentence. There's also the Mohorn, which is a reference to the character Birdie from Street Fighter. This, in combination with the crafty hair and the team captain, makes for 3 separate Street Fighter related hats that Heavy has the ability to wear. The last hat in this category is the Nuke, which is a sick looking cosmetic that's obviously based on the smack-talking shooter himself, Duke Nukem. This is an amazing reference to one of the most influential 90s shooters of all time. Also, since I know somebody is going to mention it, there's some speculation that the heavy-duty rag is based off of the Team Fortress Classic version of Heavy. However, I couldn't find any confirmation of this anywhere, so I'm going to assume it's just a rumor and move on to the next category, Weird Stuff. This is the category for all of the hats that just don't fit anywhere else. For instance, Heavy has not 1, not 2, but 3 hats that reference ancient mythical creatures, or cryptids, from human folklore. These 3 entities are, of course, Santa Claus, Mr. Sandman, and the Yeti. Santa Claus and the Yeti I kind of get. If anyone is going to play the big burly characters, it's going to be the Heavy. But Mr. Sandman, I've got nothing. Here in this category we've also got the Gym Rat, which has an item description quoting lyrics from the song Physical by Olivia Newton-John. I think this song is used in a lot of iconic workout videos and montages from the 80s, which is why it was chosen for this cosmetic in particular. At least it makes more sense than whatever's going on with the Minsk beef. This hat's name contains a portmanteau of minced and Minsk. Minsk, as we all know, is the capital of Belarus. Not a city in Russia, or even a Russian word. Literally a completely different country. But hey, at least the cosmetics pun of minced beef makes sense. You know, because the horns are that of an ox. Beef, that's something, at least. And wouldn't you know it, the publicity blurb references a Russian, that being Drago from Rocky IV. So you know, 2 out of 3 references making sense for the Heavy is passing. We'll take it. That's all for the Weird Stuff category. There isn't really much here, of course it is just the miscellaneous category. But next up we have Stop Russian These Videos. In this final category we have all of the lovely hats that actually reference Russian history, language, and culture. The Officer's Ushanka is a reference to the film An Officer and a Gentleman. That's the highest honorific the now dissolved Soviet Union could ever award, which means that Heavy must have done something insane to deserve it. Or he stole it. Either or. There's also the Pilotka and the Heavy Artillery Officer's Cap, both of which resemble Russian military headwear, as well as the Katyusha, whose name is a reference to a Soviet military bomber plane. Say what you will about the more irrelevant cosmetics that Heavy has, but the devs made sure he got his fair share of Russian apparel to balance it out. On the more comedic side of things, there's the Grand Duchess Tiara, as well as its matching cosmetic set, which references the last Grand Duchess of Russia, Princess Anastasia. It also reminds me of Gru wearing the fairy suit in Despicable Me 2, so, you know, there's that. The Sarbush is yet another portmanteau, this time of Sar, the old name of Slavic rulers, and Tarbush, the Arabic name for a fez. Compared to Minsk beef, this one is definitely kinda clever, but not nearly as cool looking as Misha's Maw. The Misha in this hat's name is a reference to the 1980 Olympics, which took place in Moscow, Russia. The mascot for these particular Summer Olympics was named Misha the Bear. Heavy apparently found the famed Russian bear and skinned him in order to make a neat little hat for himself, which is a horrifying thought, and I never want to consider it again. Rounding out today's references is the Horror Shawl, whose name is meant to sound like the Russian word Hedasho, which means well or good. This is one of the more clever ways to hide a reference that I found in this series, so I thought it would be fitting to end off our Heavy references journey on a high note. And that's the video. I hope you all enjoyed. This actually took another extra take. I'm doing this on the day that it's being uploaded because I went to edit everything yesterday and it didn't work, you know, which, you know, that's not good. Some announcements. I got some announcements for you guys. One, join the Discord if you haven't. We got a Discord. It's great. We're trying to hit 1,000 members in that. So, you know, go join the Discord. It's cool. We hang out. It's the best way to connect with me if you want to, like, talk to me or interact with me on, like, a personal level. Or if you want to talk about the videos. It's the best place you can go to do it. Go join the Discord. Also, Patreon exists. I uploaded 2 exclusive videos that only patrons get to see. I uploaded 2 of those recently, so go support the Patreon if you wanna check out that content. You also get a bunch of other perks, and yeah, it's pretty cool. Last announcement: the new video will be called "The Mini Medics of Gaming," and it will be, of course, a much longer video than this one, and it should be releasing on the 20th of this month. So, you know, get excited for that. I'm sure you all are a little bit hyped. Yeah, I'm really excited myself to get started on that video, but it's gonna take me a while, which is why I'm taking an extra week. But yeah, also, you know, thanks for 10K. Love you all. I will see you guys all soon. Same place, same time, and as always, stay tuned and stay lucid. Bye bye.